Today on TimesCast, the House prepares to vote on Speaker John Boehner's modified plan to raise the debt ceiling, and new data shows that the United States' economic growth has slowed considerably since last year.
After a tough night for Republicans on Thursday night, in which House Speaker John Boehner failed to get the number of votes that he needed to pass his debt ceiling increase, he emerged Friday from a conference meeting with his Republican members, apparently assured that he had made enough changes in the legislation to actually pass his bill. The House Republican leadership has said that there's likely to be a vote soon on the legislation, which has been changed to include a vote requirement on the balanced budget amendment. Conservative freshmen in the House had insisted on some sweetener to get them to vote for this, and they settled on a requirement that before the debt ceiling would be increased, both chambers, the House and the Senate, would have to pass a balanced budget amendment and send it to the states for ratification. Assuming that the House leadership is correct, they have the votes, it should pass the House later on Friday and head over to the Senate, where the Senate Majority Leader Harry Reid and other Democrats there have said it's dead on arrival and they'll likely dispatch with it. Assuming that happens, the action for the rest of the weekend likely moves to the Senate and to a tough negotiation between Republicans in the Senate and Democrats in the Senate to try to find out whether they can reach some sort of compromise. In the Senate, the way the numbers are now, if you don't have 60 votes, and that is a cooperation between the Republicans and the Democrats, if you don't have that kind of cooperation, not much happens. If they can get that, things might move quickly. If not, the likelihood is that we're in for a long weekend of legislative back and forth, legislative arguing in the Senate. Ultimately, of course, anything that does come out of the Senate would have to still go back over to the House for final approval, all of which is happening likely right up against the deadline of Tuesday, when the Treasury Department has said the government's borrowing authority runs out.
The government announced the GDP figures today. Those are the measures of the size of the economy and how fast it is or is not growing. And in the second quarter, it grew by only 1.3% on an annualized basis. This is not a fast recovery. More disturbing to a lot of economists was that the estimate for the first quarter this year, which was believed to have been a pretty robust quarter, was decreased to only 0.4% at an annual rate. So a lot of people now are questioning what we're going to see the rest of the year and whether 2011 is going to be the year of recovery or not. These economic figures will be used in many stages of the budget talks in Washington. Right now, they're already being used by people who say the debt limit needs to be raised immediately. These people say the uncertainty around what will happen with the debt limit, as well as a possible government shutdown, which would cut spending and maybe hurt the economy, that these figures show that the economy can't take that. In addition, over the next several months, as you see Washington talk about the bigger budget problem, how do we bring spending down or revenues up, there will be people who will point to these figures and say, okay, if you want to cut government spending, that's fine, but don't do it too dramatically right now because the economy may not be able to take it.